You're listening to Eat, Play, Sex with Dr. Cat, the place to up-level that sexy life of yours, with expert talk on sex, love, and nutrition.
But what would you say, as people who are considering this or curious, are there key factors that they should consider, or maybe personalities that this might be more inclined to? Like, I don't think this is necessarily for everyone.
Oh, definitely not for everyone. Absolutely. And I think that is a very good thing to point out. You're right, that because this isn't for everyone. I think there are certain key personality factors, such as people who are a bit more adventurous, more comfortable with risk taking.
Mm-hmm. Check.
Yeah. I hear you. And people who are fairly confident. And you don't have to necessarily be completely confident, because we all have little areas where we're insecure about this or that around ourselves. But you've got to be able to work through your own insecurities, because open relationships especially are going to shine this very bright light on any of your insecurities and what that means within your relationship.
Yeah.
And the different, I always say that I like to split open relationships into kind of like three basic areas. There's the polyamory, there's what I call the swinging lifestyle, and then there's designer relationships.
Well, like designer boutiques, like Build-A-Bear relationships, like
it is kind of build your own. Yeah, and polyamory is the term is very popular these days. I mean, people hear it all the time, and even people, there are a lot of celebrities coming out talking about being in polyamorous relationships, and so. But yet a lot of people don't exactly understand what it means. They think any kind of open is polyamory, and it's not really true.
Right.
Because polyamory, there are specific dynamics that really make it polyamory. Because polyamory means it's not just that you have other sexual partners, you also have other partners with emotional depth. So it's like being in love with 2 or 3 people who all know about it, who are all consenting to it. So there's a lot more conversations that have to happen. There's a lot more communication. You cannot make the same assumptions in polyamorous relationships that you can in monogamous relationships.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think we've been raised in our culture to think, the movies we watch, the books we've read, the love stories, the songs on the radio. Well, actually, I'm really dating myself with radio.
It's okay, Dr. Rhoda. I also listen to the radio sometimes too. It's okay.
Just comes out. But, the love songs we listen to, and they're very much based on 2 people and how those relationships were taught to think how they work. You just think of some of the language, like, you're mine now. Some of the love songs from the 60s and 70s and 80s, like, oh my God, I just want to barf.
Yeah. And 80s ballads are like my fucking favorite, but there's like,
yes, I know. But it affects how then we act in our relationships, because all of those subliminal messages that we take in at a subconscious level, and we don't even realize it's like they're little computer programs running in the background that we don't even know are there.
Yeah.
And then when something comes up, like if you're in a polyamorous relationship and now your partner has this other partner and they're going to go spend the night with their other partner, and you're like, whoa, wait, you're mine. You're supposed to be here with me. And that gut level reaction that you have to be able to not only notice, but then be like, all right, how do I manage this emotion within this? Because I've agreed to this, I'm okay with it, but yet it still doesn't feel good initially at a gut level when you're just starting this type of relationship. And there's all of those little landmines that people don't even realize are there until they step on them.
Yes.
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 And so I want to jump into that, but first I want to clearly define, you were talking about the swinger lifestyles and designer.
Yeah, and swinger lifestyles, I mean, people have heard of it for many years. And it's traditionally more where you have a couple who they are their primary relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But together or separately, they have additional sexual partners who they're not in love with, they're not having this long-term committed relationship with. They're more like playmates, friends with benefits, whatever terms you want to use for it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's consensual, everybody knows about it, but they're not having that deep committed relationship. Like, this is not the additional person they want to bring home to meet the family for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right, which you might do with polyamory if you have two committed partners at that level.
Everybody come home for Thanksgiving. It's going to be a long table.
Yeah, and it's really interesting when you want to bring them back to Missouri or Iowa for the Thanksgiving dinner with the family.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then designer relationships, I wish I'd coined that term. Unfortunately, I didn't. But it came out probably 25 years ago or so. And technically any type of open relationship could be called a designer relationship, because
Mm-hmm.
even polyamorous and swinging relationships are, depending on the people involved in them, they still have unique aspects to them. So, they're not exactly the same. But I like to think of designer relationships as sometimes even more unique than the others, so that they might have properties of polyamory or properties of swinging, but yet aren't really quite either one.
Lovers, thank you again for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, hit subscribe and head over to eatplaysex.com to connect with me and grab my sexy guides. Because my goal here is to get you to eat, play, and sex better, so you can improve your sex life, which will improve every aspect of your life. Until next time, keep it sexy.